So welcome to Meeting with HR. I am joined by the fantastic Tyler.
Skill set is important, but also your personality is really important.
How did you land with Dishoom? How did you get there?
And they were like, you have got to work at Dishoom when you move to London.
I am slightly obsessed. You do things really differently.
Just over 6 years ago, I went from marketing assistant to internal comms. And then I kind of got the call being like, we need you to come back on Monday.
Can you talk me through your role and what that kind of looks like?
Yeah,
You don't normally see that.
200 people. When I finished, kind of got on the plane, like, what just happened?
How did Dishoom start? And it's growing, so you're growing at pace, right? It's quite romantic, the whole experience.
Suddenly hear another table already churring because they just ordered 6 at the same time.
We've had Gen Z employees, a dream or a nightmare. So welcome to Meeting with HR. My name's Elly. I am co-founder of EDA and host of the Meeting with HR podcast. Now, today I am joined by the fantastic Tyler from Dishoom. Tyler, welcome to the podcast.
Say hello.
And we are going to talk all things people and culture and internal comms. So, Tyler, welcome, first of all.
Hello.
Before we get into all the work, people, internal comms kind of stuff, I like to start the podcast with finding out who sits behind all of that kind of workplace titles and all that kind of good stuff. So could you share with me who Tyler is outside of work?
Yes. So outside of work, I guess, obviously I'm in the food industry world. So I like going to restaurants. I'm not really like big brandy restaurants most of the time. I'm a lot of street food and going around markets. And I love a bar. I love a pub. And then outside of that, I've got the biggest sweet tooth, but not cakes. I'm just Skittles.
Oh, I use sweeties.
Yeah, Skittles. I probably eat sour Skittles every day of my life.
Do you?
Yeah, I know that sounds crazy. I don't eat a whole bag. I like get a big share bag and then I just, oh my God, it's going to, everyone has their weird ways. I just like eat individual flavors from the bag, start with my least favorite. And then like 3 days later, I'll have my favorite flavor.
Like, what's your least favorite?
I actually think they all are great.
Okay.
But I do go for like the sour Skittles and go from, it goes orange, green, pink, yellow, purple.
Okay.
Oh, finish with the purple. Well, sometimes purple and yellow change to this like pineapple or a cherry. Surround. Yeah, I wish I didn't say that.
I also have a sweet tooth, but not really for sweeties. It's more of a chocolate kind of person. So you buy a bag of Skittles and then eat them throughout the week from your worst bit. I absolutely love
Least favorite. I mean, it changes. Sometimes I'll just go for the regular Skittles. And sometimes I'm a very big Skittle fan, and I understand why there's not a Skittles world. You know how they've got like the M&M one in Oxford Circus?
Yeah.
Let's speculate somewhere.
Where you can choose your flavours.
Yeah, and they should have one for Skittles. I feel like we're missing out.
There you go. Maybe you could open one.
Yeah, that would be my dream job. This is my dream job, but that would be my second dream job.
First of all, Dishoom and then Skittles.
Yeah.
Shop runner. Okay. I love it.
Let's just do a side hustle on the weekends.
I would actually love to see that. I would get to go.
I suppose I could do like reviews of Skittles.
Yeah, like Skittle influencer.
Yeah. I'm really, really like I'm the key speaker for Skittles from.
This podcast is sponsored by Skittles.
Yeah,
we'll see. Maybe they can. Someone can find you who works.
Yeah, send me a box.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so thank you for that. And then when we talk about work and Dishoom, how did you land with Dishoom? How did you get there?
Wow. So, 10 years ago today, well, actually, I moved to London first, and I had a friend from uni who was working at Dishoom Carnaby.
Okay.
And they were like, you have got to work at Dishoom when you move to London. It's amazing. You have to work here. So I moved. And unfortunately, there was no job going in Carnaby, but there was jobs going in King's Cross Dishoom. So I went there, started as a server, and then I moved into being host babu. From host babu, babu means manager. So I went from server, host manager, then office manager / all ears, which is like our feedback internally. So guest feedback. So either complaints, positive and bad, and you kind of got back to everybody at Dishoom. We like respond to all kind of feedback. I'm not sure if we still do now, but we used to respond to everybody.
Wow.
And then from there, I went into a marketing assistant's role.
Okay.
And then just over 6 years ago, I went from marketing assistant to internal comms. So at the time of marketing assistant, there was kind of like a lot of it was I was focusing on internal comms because then we didn't really have that kind of communication going on with the team.
Yeah.
And then kind of during the role, it wasn't even kind of like I interviewed for it. It just got to a point when collectively we all said, this just needs to be a role of its own, and the marketing assistant side of it needs to stop. Do you want that to be a role, or would you prefer to move into some other area of the business? And then I kind of went on to internal comms.
Right.
And then COVID happened a few months later, and I had a baptism of fire. It was actually probably really good for my career path, because I just went from being like, oh yeah, I'm kind of learning bits here and there, and then suddenly it was like, you need to know about change comms and how to engage a team that's at home, and it just rocketed.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So we see this a lot actually when the internal comms role or people who step into that role comes from normally a marketing team, because obviously there's external marketing of business, and then internal comms is really internal marketing of the business to the employees, right? So it's just a different lens of who you're marketing to. It's the same product really in essence, but it's your career. And so you navigated the team and the full communications of Dishoom all through all of the restaurants closing.
Yes and no.
Okay.
There was a lot of going on with the directors as well, because it really had to come from their voice. There was stuff that had never been, that had happened before, like on a global scale. And, furlough hadn't happened right at the beginning as well. So there was, Dishoom right from the beginning just said to everybody, we are going to keep everybody. We're going to do our absolute best. We're not going to lay people off. Everybody's got like a seat, I guess, at the table still. And then it was so lucky that we said that, and we're so lucky that furlough kind of happened, because it meant that they were able to, really stay true to their promise. And at the beginning, I think I was furloughed for a little bit. But I know I was furloughed for like a month, or maybe it was just about 6 weeks. And then I kind of got the call being like, we need you to come back on Monday. Like, I did the comms at the beginning and then was furloughed and then came back, and then I never went off again for the whole kind of journey, because having a team that was used to a huge social network of being inside cafes and then knowing that everyone was suddenly just at home was not fun for anyone, I don't think.
Yeah, absolutely not. That uncertainty just rippled through every industry, and every human being at work. But I think when you have, you call them cafes, don't you? When you have physical premises that have to actually shut, there's an extra layer of, I guess, employees showing that they're scared and worried because it's not open, right? Can they work from home if they're a people-facing business? Hospitality is people-facing. A lot of hospitality organizations, unfortunately, didn't survive, right? So,
yeah, I mean, it's a whole different landscape now.
Yeah.
And, for the better and for the worse, I guess in some cases, it's just such a huge shame that for so many smaller companies who maybe had just started out in 2019, it was just impossible for them to survive afterwards. And I think a lot of really amazing brands got lost because of that, because they just didn't have the capability of paying that kind of rent, or surviving afterwards and trying to market afterwards or anything.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank goodness Dishoom found a way to survive and muddle through that moment. So when we look at what you do at Dishoom, I am slightly obsessed. You do things really differently, particularly even just looking at your careers page, your careers site. When you move through that careers page, it evokes so much emotion that you actually feel something when you look at your careers page. Was that you?
No, we actually have an amazing marketing team. And last year, I think it was last year, could have been the year before. I mean, honestly, now I've been here so long, timelines are a bit different in my head, but they redid the website, and that was kind of as an add-on part of that. And, I helped with like pictures and that they needed and stuff like that. And looked at some of the copy bits, but as a general thing, the marketing team did a fantastic job working with. And we've got an in-house recruitment team who are phenomenal as well, and they did a huge part of everything. We just take the hat off.
Yeah, it's you get a sense of what it feels like to work for the business just from the language that's used, the imagery, and then obviously everything that you do for employees. Can you talk me through your role and what that kind of looks like?
Yeah, I feel like internal comms, I feel like you see it on LinkedIn all the time. People are like, oh yeah, internal comms and engagement, they have to wear so many hats. But it is just true, because you said it at the beginning, the It's just internal marketing. And that's how I always just say it to people, like, it's just internal marketing, but it's just one person rather than lots of people doing individual things. So you kind of need to be able to tip your hat and in lots of different directions. For me, I say if we're going to have an internal team event, not one of our huge ones like the Christmas party or the Mela that the events team look after, but the smaller cultural ones like Team Iftar, Janmashtami, Diwali, like our cricket tournament, all these things I look after. So that's from thought and idea right through to execution and closing it down at the end of it and communicating it and getting team RSVPing throughout the whole journey as well. So I really enjoy that. Like, to me, the things I love coming and communicating with the team are the really fun stuff that we're doing. So you kind of need to embed those really fun things in order to talk about those really fun things. Otherwise, you're only ever going to be giving finance and HR updates, which I don't feel like we really do too much of at Dishoom. We're a lot more kind of comms coming from me, who I call, like, you know, the fun person, and then communication from the bottom up. So like our internal app's just filled with team posts all day, every day, and then a lot less of the, I guess, the processes and stuff. And through the way that's more of a kind of, those communications go more to management and stuff like that.
So it'll pay dividends, right? Because you're setting a tone of, this is what it feels like to work here. These are the events we're inviting you to, and we want you to be a part of. And there's a lot of celebration that happens at Dishoom, right? And then when employees are posting on your internal app, it's organic. It's because they want to, right? It's because they care about the work that they do. And even when you look at the reviews for Dishoom from customers online on TripAdvisor and things, the ratings are phenomenal. Then when you look on Glassdoor from an internal perspective, it matches up exactly, and the ratings from your employees are exceptionally high, right? Which again, in hospitality, you don't normally see that, I think. Like, typically in hospitality, with turnover, you see it's north of kind of 60 to 70%. It's normally really high, right? What does that look like in Dishoom?
I don't know the number from the top of my head, but I do know that we're currently at the lowest it's ever been.
Wow, brilliant.
And we've been open 15 years, and we've obviously got, I think it's 2,099 people at current. I think it's just less than 50% at the moment.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, which is amazing. And I think Dishoom is a very busy place to work. Like, you can't hide that. Like, there's queues outside the building, but there is a lot of people working in a building as well. And from when I was hired to now, your skill set is important, but also your personality is really important. And they hire for personality as well as skill set. So you need to be, not you need to be, but it helps to be very forthcoming and happy. And, you know, when you're on a busy shift, knowing that you can rely on someone, because you're not always going to be on the same shift with the same people. So everyone kind of just needs to get along and look after each other and be involved. Even though I do say that if people do just want to come and work and they don't want to come to team events, they don't want to get involved, that is absolutely fine. You can't, some people do just want that. And I think that's a huge part of it as well, is just understanding that some people, let them live their life. They're here, they're doing an amazing job, they're a great person. Not everybody has to be completely on the app every day and posting and liking everything. And it doesn't change who they are as a person and working in the company.
Yeah, absolutely. You've been at Dishoom for 10 years today. Congratulations.
I was expecting balloons to fill from the ceiling.
So what is keeping you personally at Dishoom?
It's a great question. I mean, I guess for me, it's been the growth. So from my little server self, who I always say now, they probably wouldn't hire me as a server these days, because I don't think I probably am as good as I should have been, but I definitely had the personality which they hired for. But being able to grow and know your kind of journey, or not know your journey, but be able to navigate through and have like amazing people around you supporting you, really is why I stayed so long. And I kind of do openly look out into the industry and see what's going on. And I'm not being like we're the best, but I think that we're the best for me personally and for the people that I work with. And I've always had good people to talk to and guide me. So even though it's been 10 years, it's been multiple different roles within that kind of journey. And I think that I haven't seen that there's a route to that yet.
Yeah.
I've never felt like, okay, this is as far as I'm going to be able to get here.
Yeah.
And I guess once I get to that point, maybe I'll start thinking differently. But at the moment, I still just see it's an upwards journey.
You can see the journey. And what does that look like from an employee perspective when somebody joins Dishoom in terms of career paths and what's kind of out for them? What does that kind of journey look like for them internally?
I guess it's different for different people.
Yeah.
But we have what we call a Welcome Walla, who is set in every cafe.
Okay. What's a Walla?
So Walla is a person, yes, or a Dishoom person. So we have like Dishoom Wallas, which is a Dishoom person.
Yeah.
And then a Babu Walla, which is a manager person. And again, Welcome Wallas are the welcoming team kind of. So we have one in each site, and they're like also the trainers, not as in the shoes, the trainers. From day one, they will look after you, teach you what you need to know, take you through the menu, and you'll spend your whole first week with them and other new people who are joining. And you could be a food runner or a host or a server, but you'll all be on that journey together in that first week, learning what part of your role you need to know. So in that time, I think that's the first kind of initial moment where you're like, cool, these guys know what they're doing. So you can ask those sorts of questions. And then throughout your journey, you know that your Welcome Walla who you met a year ago, you can still kind of check in with them and be like, I kind of want to move on to do something like this now.
Yeah.
And if you come in as a runner, you can become a host or a server or a bartender. And equally with any role, you can learn how to go into a different department. We also have like the Abu Masterclass, which is manager masterclass, and team who want to be on that journey can go on that, and they do go on a course and they come to head office and they go through different lessons, and then at the end of that you're skilled to then when the next manager role comes about you can interview and likely just take on the role straight away. So I think that's it.
Yeah, people that when they join or a Walla, when they join they can see the path, because typically hospitality, retail, leisure, those types of industries where, tenure is generally shorter, it can be tricky to keep people and capture them at that moment to say you can have a career with this business. So that's where your employee voice, your employee strategy, your internal comms, everything needs to be really strong so that they can feel connected to the business. And then, like you said, with your app and then your events, you're constantly connecting the team to the business, to feeling close to everybody.
Yeah, I think people need to feel safe.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I think when people feel safe, they feel like they can grow.
Yeah.
Because if you just feel like you're going into this huge cafe where there's lots of people running around and doing things, like I think if you nurture that right at the beginning, you feel a lot safer throughout the journey because you're like, okay, cool, I've met my GM on day 4 and had breakfast with them, and I did this on day 5, and now I feel like I know the people that I need to know, and now I can go make my friends and do what I want to do.
Make you belong almost as quickly as you can in the business. So there's so much meaning and heritage baked into everything that you seem to do at Dishoom, with the language that you use. Babu House, Wallas, Gupshup. What does Gupshup mean?
Gossip.
Gossip.
Yeah.
So Gupshup Officer. So Gossip Officer.
Yeah, basically.
Can you tell me a bit about that?
Well, I guess because I don't deliver the comms as Tyler on the app and through things. It'll be through Dishoom Walla. So it's kind of like Dishoom Walla is almost like the name is the person delivering all the information, or it might be people team, but like from my perspective of what I'm talking about. And because I'm just telling everyone what's going on, like the exciting stuff that's going on and the fun things you can get involved in and the competition that's happening this week or the benefits that were going on. I guess I'm just gossiping about everything that people want to hear about.
A Gupshup.
Yeah, Gupshup.
Gupshup. I'm going to take that. And with the likes of the word Gupshup, there's so much kind of meaning, and you're using all of this language from the heritage of Dishoom. Why does language, matter so much to the business?
So, in a nutshell, I'm not sure if everyone knows this, but every single cafe had its own love story to Bombay, we call it. So, they start with the story. The story is written, and then the design and the concept and the build all happens from this one story, which we call a love story. And so without the storytelling be able to bring people in, we need that language to not just invite you in from the way it looks and the way it feels, but for the people that work there to be like, oh, this cafe means this to me. And you'll be able to use those words and take those stories and then feed it back through in other comms that you do and stuff. So I would say that externally, that we have a certain way of talking, and then internally we have a certain way of talking. So internally, I would say, no offense, but it's a lot more fun and, you know, colorful and energetic. And externally, it's a bit more like sepia tinted and I guess romantic.
Yeah.
So, because of the different genres we're able to pull from India, we're able to really just change that for internal and external. So the world is the same world, but it's seen through different lenses.
Yeah, that's beautiful. It's it allows you to be really playful with the team, right, internally, and be able to put on such amazing events and things. And then externally, the brand look and feel a certain way. So, it's an amazing way to look at communication from an internal and external perspective. Very, very interesting.
We can do very cool things creatively as well that way, because with, you know, the graphics that we use and the graphic designs that we use, because there's, like I say, they're different for internal and external. So lots of bright colors internally.
Yeah. And what's the so you have Babu House, so that's the manager's house,
Head office, yeah.
head office, and then you do an event annually for your team members. What is that called?
Family Mela.
Families.
We actually do two. We do the Christmas party and the Family Mela.
Okay.
So Family Mela happens every summer. All of the cafes, kitchens, and the bakery, which is where the stuff from home, everything gets closed. And we just go to a big field, and the events team put on an incredible festival for the day. So in that event, you can bring family members. So you could bring a partner, you could bring your wife and children, and it just starts at 11 a.m., finishes around 6, and it's just a full day of entertainment, rides, food, lots of food, of course. Dishoom, not Dishoom food. We just have an incredible amount of vendors there, drinks, and
amazing.
Yeah, awards and stuff. It's a really lovely day
Just to celebrate on
massage tents, the works.
Wow, amazing. How did that come around?
I actually don't know how it started. It started before I begun, and I imagine it started as a great idea, probably not considering the fact that one day we'd be over 2,000 people.
The fields getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yeah, I imagine that's probably how it begun. It probably thought like, oh, this would be really fun. We only have like 2 cafes. We have like 150 people. Let's bring them all together with their families. And now obviously this huge entity of its own, which, you know, I don't think they change for the world. And the same thing we do at Christmas, but we do it inside a field. And that one's just for the Dishoom team. And we close for 2 days because obviously the festive season's really busy.
Yeah.
And we'll close for like the Christmas day and stuff. But then it's just get an extra little, let's all come together and party for the evening.
Yeah, it's a big decision to make in hospitality, right? Because you're closing all of your sites, which is expensive to do.
Yeah.
But it just reinforces that kind of we care about you message to the team and to the employees. Just there.
And it's totally worth it. I think, you know, I love going every year, dressing out in kind of a festival, and I prefer a day festival than anything in the evening anyway. So it's just fun. And you don't often get the chance to all be off work at the same time. Yeah. You never get the chance to all be off work at the same time. Like, especially with shift work, like you might be off on a Tuesday and your work besties might be off on Thursday. And like sometimes it coincides, but it's just that one day where everyone's like, cool, we are all off together. I can just be with everyone in my team that I love.
Yeah.
And I can just run around a field going on rides and eating food and watching entertainment. So yeah, it's really good.
Yeah. Sorry. Can I go? And so when it comes to internal comms and engagement, obviously you've got a wealth of experience with Dishoom. What do you think you see from other companies doing are the biggest mistakes that other businesses make when it comes to internal comms and engagement?
I just think it's too much top-down comms.
Okay.
I think you need to highlight the people that you work with, or, you know, in our case, I feel like we work for the cafes. They're the ones that are busy all day, every day. And without them, you wouldn't have jobs. So you need to highlight the people. You need to make sure they're happy, make sure their heartbeat is the heartbeat we hear. So I think companies where it's just kind of, let's get this information out, and they need to tick something off. I totally understand for like legal reasons, some things need to be ticked off. but you can't have your whole story just being like bottom down comms, because if people are at a desk, I think it works a bit better because you have your desktop open. But if you have frontline workers, you just need to make them want to be part of the story.
Yeah, make them feel included.
Yeah, included. Yeah,
I think you're so right in what you say. We see a lot of, when we ask people leaders, what's your communication strategy? And often it's, just constantly sending messages, and actually how can you get the communication to come organically from the team who are, the front line, and whether it's front line in the office, people that have just joined at, the bottom of the org chart, how to make them feel included, regardless of whether they're, at a desk in an office or, a reception in a leisure centre or something like that. How do you get them to organically start speaking and be included and feel part of the whole business and what's going on?
And it was hard at the beginning. I remember when we first got our first employee app years ago, 2020 maybe. That was our original app. And the team weren't posting on it. And I was like, no one's posting on it. But I think it's because, first of all, it was new for everyone in the company. And second of all, I think people felt like the app was for them to get given information. It wasn't supposed to be a two-way street. So it didn't take forever, but it did take a few months. It was very much like making sure our babbies and sites were posting, because if they start posting, then team would feel like they could post, because they'd feel like, oh,
yeah,
my babby posted just a really random thing yesterday, which was just funny.
Yeah.
Am I allowed to do that as well? And then now when people come in, because that already exists, people just instantly kind of go into that flow of like, oh, I feel like I can post on there and I can like start conversations myself.
Yeah. It sounds like you've created a really psychologically safe place for people to show up as who they are.
Yeah.
Fantastic. So you do lots of initiatives. One that I saw is called Bombay Boot Camp. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Bombay Boot Camp, it's incredible.
Okay.
When Dishoom Walla hits 5 years in the company, they get whisked away to India for like a 4-day educational, inspirational trip where you kind of visit all the cafes and venues and buildings and markets that kind of inspire Dishoom's food and the design and kind of the culture of who we are today. So I think this year we're taking a total of 200 people. So it shows the tenure of we've already had 2 trips, because they're small kind of group trips. We've had 2 trips already this year, another 2 in March, and then there'll be another 2 in October. So if you hit 5 years, you get taken away on this amazing 4-day whirlwind where you visit also the schools, the charity partners that we had for the last 10 years. So yeah, it's a very amazing trip.
That's incredible. Was it the founders that have kind of set that?
Yeah.
So, wow, that's an amazing.
I think the first trip had like 3 or 4 people on it on the first ever Bombay Boot Camp, and then 15 years on, it's 200 people.
You done one, Ruby?
I've actually been twice. I'm very lucky. I've been twice.
Amazing.
Yeah, both were. First one was really just like, whoa, like when I finished, kind of got on the plane, like what just happened? And the second one, because I'd been on it before, I kind of understood more what to expect. And now I do the cons and stuff. I really just kind of know all about the trip, and I get treat bags ready for everyone before they go. So when they arrive, you got like a tote bag and a t-shirt and some like hand sanitizer and tissues and
Skittles.
Electrolytes to make sure that you don't get dehydrated, sun cream, the works. Yeah.
Amazing.
Really beautiful trip.
Wow, that sounds amazing. And how did Dishoom start?
Let me see if I can remember to get the story correct. I know that the name was kind of a bit of a joke, like, oh, it'd be really fun to call the name Dishoom, because Dishoom means like punch, like, like in a cartoon, it's like pow, wham, bam. Dishoom is basically that in India or in Hindi.
Yeah.
And Shamal and Kavi are 2 cousins, wonderful humans, who kind of went to these Irani cafes when they were younger, like babies, toddlers, and kind of grew up going there when they were visiting their grandmother, I believe. And then when they came to the UK, they were like, maybe we could make something.
Wow.
And then, we'll see 15 years on, or almost 16. It'll be 16 this June.
Wow.
Dishoom is what it is today.
And it's growing. So you're growing at pace, right? So you're opening a couple of new sites in the UK this year?
Yeah. So, I mean, pace for Dishoom, I would say, not pace in terms of like industry level of pace, because I think Dishoom has always had this core like belief of like deepen and don't dilute. So you can't move on to something else until you've made the thing before, as it should be, and kind of like looking after all the people there and all those sorts of things. So I think 3 this year is big for us. It's huge.
Yeah.
It's pays for Dishoom, but it's not a explosion, thank God.
Yeah.
I don't know what I do if we have all these different openings.
But everything's done with a level of care, right? Of it starts with the love story, and then the creation of the actual space, from the hiring of the people, and then they get taken on that journey. So it's quite romantic, the whole experience.
We have our whole training team in Liverpool as of, I think, 2 days ago, getting the team ready for what will be the test runs first, and then the official opening.
And then official doors open, theatrical production again.
And then I'll go up there once it's open.
Lovely.
I like going up afterwards now. I've done a lot of the early ones, like when you kind of go up there a bit early.
Yeah.
But now I kind of like going afterwards, because then the team are a bit more calm and you can kind of get to know them better instead of just being like, hello, it's so nice to meet you. I'm like, I just want to ask people so many questions, and I feel like I'm just completely just ruining their day. They're trying to learn stuff, and that's just like, oh no, who are you? I don't know you. So now I kind of wait for a couple of weeks after it opens and the dust settles, and then I'll go up and just spend a couple of days there, like chatting to people and getting to know people.
Just making them feel welcome. The menu was so extensive. I tried the breakfast for the first time the other week, and first of all, the experience at the cafe, was just beautiful. From everything that the server was talking to us about and explaining the menu, and the whole experience was gorgeous. Food was incredible. And then I learned about the dice.
The Matka.
Yeah.
Did you get one?
I got one.
Oh, nice.
I was going to bring it. Yeah. Could you share a little bit about that and what that means?
So the Matka, that's something I don't know how it started, but I do know that Matka is kind of like on a need to know basis, but anyone can get one. As soon as you know about it, you can be like, oh, can I have one of those key rings? Each site has its own individual keyring design. And I think it's Monday to Friday before 5 p.m. I believe if you've sat down at like 4:45, that counts, I believe.
Okay.
And at the end of the meal, I think it's up to 6 people, or is it 6 people or more? Up to 6 people. You can roll the dice, and if you get a 6, you get the whole bill free. Yeah, which is great. And like, people always like, the dices are weighted, and someone will say something like that in the cafe, but then suddenly you just suddenly hear another table roaring, tearing, because they just rolled a 6 at the same time. And it's not, I promise you. It's still not weighted.
Yeah, it's almost like gamifying the experience. So I don't know, just give you leave with a little kind of buzz about you when you're like, even if, I didn't get it for free, but even just receiving the keyring, going through that experience of the game, and then you kind of included in the actual performance of being inside one of the cafes, I guess.
Yeah, I love the keyrings.
Yeah.
They're beautiful.
Yeah, it's great fun. Okay, we're going to do a round now that we do with every guest of the podcast. It's absolutely fine. There's no difference.
I'm so indecisive as a person.
It's a quick fire round. I'm going to say 2 things to you, and all you need to do is just pick one of them. We can talk about it afterwards. And so the quick fire round. We will start with Dishoom, breakfast or dinner?
Dinner.
Internal comms budget or unlimited creativity?
An internal comms budget that gives you unlimited creativity.
You had to pick one?
I guess the budget.
Okay. Career paths mapped out or discovered along the way?
Let's say both. I think mapped out is more important, but I discovered mine along the way.
So not how you've done it, but for others to map out. Glassdoor reviews, read them all or avoid them?
I avoid them unless I'm told to read them.
Okay. I mean, there's some great ones for Dishoom. I did have a little read. Hiring for attitude or experience?
Attitude.
I always say this with my first kind of role into I worked in the fitness industry out after university, and I had an amazing sales leader. She's fantastic, and she taught me that there's 2 things you can hire for, which are skill and will. And skill you can coach all day long. You can go to trainings, but will is something that you cannot simply coach. And you can spot very quickly in an interview, I think, if someone's got the will to do something or not. And then layered over that, you also have personality. And can you bring personality to the role, to the business? And it seems like Dishoom really value personality and that willingness, because you can coach and train the still side of the hands, right?
I mean, our head office, sometimes I feel like it's like a sixth form common room. We're all just so like loud and chatty, and then people are like, I've got so much work to do. Well, I thought we can't stop like once we all get started. And I mean, this morning I was there, and because I got to the office first, I actually put my playlist on, which just meant that it was game over for everyone. Even got to the office, I was coming in like, what's going on in here today? And I was like, sorry, just take a seat. Because I can totally work with it. Everyone else was having a hard time.
Take a seat, not the purple one.
I would never bring my skills to the office.
Not a sheriff. Okay, next one. Gen Z employees, a dream or a nightmare?
I think a dream.
Nice. I've asked everybody that one.
Yeah, I think it's good to, especially with internal comms and teams with or businesses that have younger people, that demographic coming in all the time. You just need to learn and grow and understand and pivot.
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. They get a really bad rap, right?
Yeah.
And I ask the question just to see what response I get, but they get a bad rap in terms of their expectation and attitude to work. And you can't blanket a whole generation, right, with a big brushstroke kind of thought, I think. But I guess in hospitality, and I imagine you have quite a large amount of Gen Z employees, but they've also lived through, I think, they've lived through an extremely important kind of global crisis whilst they're at a really interesting life-defining age.
Yeah, 100%.
It's a different kind of approach that they have to the workplace.
And you've got to think, like, millennials, we were the same when we were that age. People are like, oh, millennials, they think they're going to save the world, like eye rolling and stuff. And it's like, you just need to give people the benefit of the doubt, especially at a certain age, because, frontal lobes and all that.
Frontal lobes and all that. Okay, internal surveys, insightful or pointless?
Insightful.
Ooh, why'd you say that?
Well, we do ours every 3 months.
Yeah.
But different sites, so that we're able to take the feedback and actually do something with it. Because if we survey everyone at the same time and you get all this feedback, then it's a bit overwhelming how you're supposed to fix any problems. And I don't understand how you're supposed to know how people feel and what they want if you don't ask. And I think, if you're working in a small shop of 10 people, maybe you don't need a survey, because maybe you can just be like, how's everyone doing? Is everyone good? And or by then maybe people will just say they're good if they don't have anonymity. But I suppose with such a huge group of people, you need to give people that voice, because like I say, the app's all for talking and having fun. And I can't imagine someone posting on there that that's something that they'd like to change. Whereas in a survey, they will always say the truth.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And it captures that kind of the quiet audience that don't say, even if you have, a session in person, we always say, if you get a focus group or team together and there's 20 people in the team and you say, this is a really safe space, we want to take your feedback, say whatever you want, put your hand if you want to say something. People still arrive with a level of skepticism.
100%.
Is this a safe place? Do I feel safe? And actually, naturally, by different personality types, some people won't feel comfortable even just talking in front of a group of people. Never mind saying something that may be deemed as negative. Even if it is, really constructive feedback to the business. In this kind of current climate in the world, people don't want to be seen as, I guess, troublesome or, with a red flag on the head or anything like that. So I think I completely agree. It's super important to have something in place where people can share exactly what it feels like to work there. So,
and you've got to give people the benefit of the doubt of where they've come from in that moment, in that day. So, you might ask somebody, how are you doing that day? And they've just had a terrible day. So they're going to answer that way. So that's why like cadence is important as well, because you could capture someone at the wrong time and they're going to say, this is all terrible. And, and then you might ask that same person even 4 hours later, even though obviously a survey wouldn't happen that quickly, but you could ask the same person a month later and it's completely different. So it's important to have that kind of like cycle feedback loop so that people feel, oh God, last time I was a little bit harsh and I didn't really mean that. But then this time, and equally, they were like, last time was a bit too nice about what I said. And like, just make sure it's just always open.
Yeah, absolutely.
Two-way street.
Yeah, absolutely. And Taya, why do you love what you do?
I love what I do because I like connecting people. I feel like it's important. And I feel from the journey I've had, if I can give people just a like a drop of that experience that I've had just from the work that I do, then I will never stop doing it. So that's why I do it. I love it.
Amazing. And if people who are listening wanted to get in touch with you, first of all,
Of course,
brilliant, they can connect with you on LinkedIn.
Tyler Rose.
Tyler Rose will tag you in this podcast episode. But thank you so much for joining me. It's been amazing.
It's fun.
It's been really interesting talking to you, finding out about your career and the whole business and the brand. So thank you so much for being there, Elly.